Hello and welcome back to this episode of the Engage 8 podcast. I am Josh with my co-host Mike. Today we will be recapping the Monday Night Football games from week 15, that being the Vikings and the Bears and the Falcons and the Raiders. And then we will preview all 16 games for week 16 of the NFL season, give our picks, and then at the very end of the show, we will give our best bets for the week. But we will start here with Monday Night Football. The Vikings beating the Bears 30-12. The Bears didn't stand much of a chance in this game. They did their regular no scoring in the first half thing that they've been doing for much of the year now. They had some success on the ground with Swift, but just had really nothing going through the air. Caleb Williams goes 18 for 31. A lot of missed throws from him. His deep ball is just not there at this point in his career yet. And unfortunately for the Bears, their defense couldn't get it done as the Vikings still find a way to get 30 points. Granted, the turnover from Caleb Williams, the fumble, did not help whatsoever for the Bears, but still, their defense was able to stand in the first half and hold them to just 13 points when they probably should have given up more, closer to 20 points. But their defense was not able to play that bend don't break in the second half. They gave up 17 points in the second half, and they still only scored 12 despite having a blocked punt at a point in this game. But yeah, the Bears just don't got it right now. Their offense does not have the passing ability to compete with these teams that have great defenses like the Vikings. And you saw it here as they were only able to put up 12 points. I think they'll have a better scoring day next week against the Lions. We'll talk about that game in a little bit. But when they're playing against teams that they can't score points against, they're always going to be in a tough spot. So, tough game for the Bears here. They moved to 0-7 on the road, still yet to win a road game this year. All of their four wins did come at home earlier on in the season. They're up to 8 straight losses since that Washington game now, and it's all bad for the Bears.
Yeah, it's literally all bad, not really anything good. Caleb Williams, again, just does not look good in this game. Really couldn't pass the ball well for a while. He hadn't had a completion for more than 6 yards. I think it was the fourth quarter when he finally got one. Just all around, just bad play calling, just bad quarterback play. He had open guys that he could throw to and just didn't, would decided to scramble and take a sack and fumble. Just another bad performance from Caleb Williams in his very disappointing rookie season. The narrative really could not have flipped any more than it has for Caleb Williams. He had, going into the season, the best supporting cast that any number one overall pick has ever seen. They're saying it's the
Right.
best pick a number one player's ever seen, and now he has no help. The coaching sucked, which they knew going into the season. They just decided to have not address that issue, and now it's severely hurt this team. I've seen people say they don't have a good receiving core, which is blasphemous. Keenan Allen hasn't been great this season, but DJ Moore is fantastic. He's coming off of one of the best wide receiver seasons last year. Rome Odunze's a rookie. He's still very solid, and Cole Kmet's a great tight end to have. And just a very disappointing season for this Bears team all around, and couldn't be more opposite for the Vikings. This is a team that we didn't really have many expectations for. Now they're sitting at 12-2, tied for first in the division, and Sam Darnold is just playing at a great level. They were able to run the ball good this game. Aaron Jones looked good. Cam Akers would come in and look good. Justin Jefferson has a nice day, 7 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Jalen Johnson for the Bears had a great defensive game against Justin Jefferson. He's been basically the only player for the Bears that's actually showed up and had a season like you would have expected him to have. Offensive line for the Bears obviously wasn't good. It continues to be a problem. New left tackle, the third round pick from BYU, said he would prevent Caleb Williams from being touched. That couldn't have been more opposite. He was trying to kill Caleb Williams back there. Basically, couldn't even put his hands on the whoever was coming off of the edge, whether it was Jonathan Grenard or Dallas Turner. And that Minnesota pass rush is sneaky great with those two. I think those are two very good guys. They also got Van Ginkel. I like this Vikings team. Obviously, they're 12-2, so they're very good. But I still think they can make a run if they can beat the Lions. I mean, the Lions are so banged up that the Vikings definitely have a shot at it. But they just have the weapons. They just need Sam Darnold to continue to perform.
Okay, we'll move on here to the Falcons beating the Raiders 15-9. Falcons did exactly what they wanted to do in this game. They wanted to get the ball out of Kirk's hands. They only have him throw 17 passes in this game. He still does end up throwing a pick, but the less passes he throws, the less interceptions he's going to throw, and that's what the Falcons were trying to do in this game. You see, they run it 37 times in this game, 22 carries for Bijan, 12 for Algier. Bijan was great, 125 yards on his 22 carries, did not find the end zone. Kirk did break his interception touchdown streak early with a touchdown pass to Drake London, but that's about all the passing success that Atlanta had in this game. Kirk, even with just one interception, does find a way to turn it over more than once as he fumbles in this game as well. Desmond Ridder for the Raiders, he was decent. He wasn't horrible. Throws two picks, of course, but still does get 200 yards. Against this bad defense, he definitely wasn't great, but when you're on your third string quarterback, there's not much you can really expect. Sincere McCormick was playing well for the Raiders over the past few weeks, but gets hurt in this game. He wasn't great early on either, 7 carries for 8 yards, but he did get hurt and miss the rest of this game. It looks like he's going to miss some time now, which the Raiders finally found some rushing success, and then immediately their one guy with success gets hurt. You see Amir Abdullah gets 7 catches in this game, which is hilarious to look at. But yeah, the Raiders are trying to lose at this point. They competed in this game. They absolutely had a chance to win it late, a couple of Hail Marys late with a chance to win it. Ritter, of course, throws one of his two picks on that last Hail Mary. But yeah, the Raiders, they continue. They're still at number one, the number one overall pick right now, just ahead of the Giants. The Falcons, they needed to win this. If they lost this game, they were going to be absolutely screwed. They're still a game back now from the Bucks, but they do have the tiebreaker against the Bucks. So if the Falcons can manage to win these games going down the stretch against some easier teams, and maybe the Bucks drop one, whether it's in Dallas or in one of their games towards the end of the year, it's going to be a tough go for the Falcons, especially if they want to make the playoffs. It doesn't. I mean, they're going to have to win out probably regardless. And even if they do, you're looking at other teams like Seattle who could possibly get that number or get that last seed over them if it comes to that. But yeah, I'd be worried if I was the Falcons. We'll talk about Penix later as he's now the starter, as they said. So we'll see how that goes going forward. But yeah, they escaped this one. Young Waku gets hurt, and it was not a fantastic game from them.
It was not a fantastic game. Kirk Cousins doesn't play great again, struggles. Like you said, he's benched for Michael Penix, which is an interesting move this late in the season when you're in a playoff run. I do understand it, but Bijan Robinson, big game, 125 yards on the ground, and it looks like he's most likely going to have to do that again next week. You're going against another bad run defense. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Darnell Mooney was quiet again, only one target in this game. A lot of just Drake London and Kyle Pitts getting most of the targets. There wasn't a big passing attack from the Falcons in this one. Their defense did a good job against Desmond Ridder, a backup. Played well against him. Like you said, Sincere McCormick goes down. He'll be out for the season. He just got put on IR. They're also missing Max Crosby, who will be out for the season on IR. So this Raiders team sitting at 2-12. They've pretty much called it a season a while ago. They will get most likely AOC back next week, which will help their offense not look so disastrous, but it can't really help too much. They really have just Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers as the main two guys to throw to. They both have solid games. Jacoby Myers, 5 catches for 59 yards. And just a rough season for Vegas, but you're looking forward to the future. If you can continue to lose, you're guaranteed one of the top two quarterbacks if you finish top two. So just got to continue to stay on that trend and look to get Ward or Shitter.
All right, we can stay in the AFC West then as we begin our Week 16 preview. We have 3 more weeks of these 16 game slates, and I can definitely say I'm excited to finish these previews out. We're at the point in the season where so many of these games don't matter that having 16 to go over and then like
Yeah.
5 that I just don't even really want to have to evaluate does suck. But we do have some important games going down the stretch here, especially early on. We have a pretty good slate to start off the preview, so we'll start with the Broncos and the Chargers. Broncos going into LA. Bo Nix is coming off of a tough week and has to play a great defense in the Chargers. Chargers defense outside of that Bucks game has been great all year. Right now in their last 3 games, 27% in the red zone they're allowing. So they've been really, really good in the red zone defensively. Chargers have struggled offensively though without Dobbins, and they're playing against a great defense here in Denver. Denver's defense went from just a good pass defense earlier on into the year to just a great all-around defense. They're great against the run now. Chargers pass defense is great, but they do give up some rushing yards at points. So maybe whether it's McLaughlin or Williams, the Broncos can get some rushing attack going in this game. Two best red zone defenses in football. The Broncos are just behind the Chargers. Whoever can find a way to score when they get down there is obviously going to win this game. Herbert has been sacked the sixth most of any quarterback in football. The Broncos still have the league's best pass rush at almost 4 sacks a game. I like the Broncos to at least compete in this game. I would love to get this at +3 on the road for the Broncos. It's currently at +2.5. And with the line being -105 and -115, there's a decent chance we get it at +3, but I will take the Broncos at +2.5.
Yeah, pretty close spread for this game. Broncos can clinch the playoffs with a win in this one, which would be the first time they're in the playoffs since 2015. It's been a long time for Denver. I expect this to be a very defensive game. Both defenses have been very good. We saw last week the Chargers defense wasn't good. They've been good all season. We see Bo Nix going against the Colts defense. He threw 3 interceptions in that one, 5 interceptions in his last 2 games, threw 6 in the first 12 games. So hopefully that's not a trend for him. He can figure that out. Chargers have lost 3 of their last 4. They've been missing J.K. Dobbins in that time, and that's really hurt their offense and specifically their run game. They need to get some of those guys back and healthy for the playoffs. And there could be 3 teams. Most likely, there's 3 teams in the AFC West, maybe the best division in the AFC. On these Thursday night and the Black Friday game, the road teams have been 1-7 in the past 8 weeks in that Amazon game. I think I'm gonna switch that up though. I like the Broncos at +2.5. They've been one of the better teams against the spread all season. They're the best team against the spread all season at 11-3 right now. So I'm gonna stick with that and go Broncos +2.5. I think their offense gets going again, and their defense has been great all season. I think they should be able to shut down that Chargers offense missing a ton of guys.
And our Broncos fan friend really likes his chances in this game against the
Yeah,
Chargers. But we'll move on here to Texans at
mid-season.
Chiefs. The Saturday games begin here for the NFLs. They're going to take advantage. I mean, this Saturday we've talked about it already with the 3 college football playoff games, and then this game and the Steelers Ravens. It's going to be a very, very good slate here. Texans at Chiefs. Texans have struggled mightily on offense. It's hard to see them having a successful game versus Chiefs defense that is susceptible to the pass, but so good against the run. Texans' best offensive games come when they can play through Joe Mixon. He's had a great year, especially earlier on when their offense was playing better. I can't see him having a great, great game here against this run defense. They just really don't let anybody have a great game against them. Texans defense is also very good, though. I have to give them a ton of credit. Chiefs are up and down offensively. They turn the ball over a decent amount. So I don't expect the Chiefs to be able to go up and down the field on this Houston defense. This line tells me that Mahomes will probably play as they sit at 3-point favorites in this game. If the line was more like 2.5, 2, maybe even 1.5, I would say maybe Mahomes doesn't play, but it's looking like he is. I love the under in this game. I think we're going to see a defensive battle. Chiefs have struggled in the red zone offensively, but Houston does have the fifth worst red zone defense in football right now. So maybe the Chiefs can right some wrongs down there that they've really struggled for the majority of the season. I'm going to take the Chiefs -3. I love them in this game. I love the under in this game.
Yeah, this is another game just like that Thursday night game that I expected to be pretty much a defensive battle. Two very good defensive teams. It does seem like Mahomes is going to be able to play. He was a full participant in the first day of practice, which is just classic Mahomes acting like he broke his ankle running off the field, barely can walk, and just perfectly fine the next day. He loves to do that. Chiefs offense hasn't been great all season. They haven't scored 30 points in a game this season, and they're still 13-1. They have scored exactly 30. They're the first team since 1925 to win at least 13 games without topping 30 points. The other teams that haven't scored 30 points this season is the Raiders, Giants, and Patriots that combined 7 and 35. The offense hasn't been great yet. Their defense has been so good. Like you said, they're fantastic against the run, and I think that's going to be huge. The Texans' offense hasn't been great either this season, as good as we would have expected him to be. Joe Mixon's been solid, but this is a game that Joe Mixon's going to have to get a majority of his work in the receiving game. Not going to be able to run the ball very well. And so while they have been very bad against the spread, I am also going to go Chiefs -3. I just think it's going to be a defensive battle, and I think the Chiefs, it's a better matchup for them in this one.
I agree. We'll
And the
move on.
Chiefs also have more to play for at this point, trying to
Yes,
continue to get that 1 seed where the Texans are pretty much set at
locked
4, it
in.
seems.
Yeah. Um, we'll move on here to Steelers at Ravens, game that's very important for the AFC playoff picture. Steelers are starting to struggle a bit offensively, and the Ravens defense could help them get back on track a little bit, especially in the pass game. Ravens open as 6-point favorites in this game at home. I hate this line. It is a really tough game to evaluate. I like the Ravens to win this game, but 6 points against Mike Tomlin on the road, I don't love. Ravens need this game desperately if they want to win this division. If they lose this game, even with the Steelers' tough schedule here at the end of the year, it's going to basically clinch the North for Pittsburgh if they can get this win. I believe they will have, what, a
It
two-game
will.
lead
It
and the
will clinch it.
tiebreaker? 100% clinch it? Okay,
Hmm.
well, there you go. They will have the division then if they can win this game. Steelers' pass defense has weirdly struggled recently. Lamar may have a field day. He's been on a tear. He's one of the best passers in the league, which if you said that a few years ago, you wouldn't expect that, but he really is. Pittsburgh's rush defense is great. They should be able to stymie Derrick Henry to a degree and not let him run all over them. Baltimore's had a pretty mid red zone defense. Pittsburgh, as we know, has struggled down there offensively more than almost any other team in football. It's going to be a tough road for Pittsburgh, but they have to find a way to score a touchdown down there. I'm going back and forth, but I will take the dog here and take the Steelers +6.
Yeah, we had this matchup early in the season, Ravens Steelers, and we know that Lamar just and the Ravens team as a general just struggles against the Steelers. Since Lamar Jackson's become the full-time starting QB in 2019, their lowest scoring game in 2020 was 14 against the Steelers, 2023 10 against the Steelers. This year, 16 against the Steelers. Most of the times this offense has its worst games of the season, it's against Pittsburgh. They've played 8 straight games versus Steelers where they have not hit 20 points. Just they tend to just struggle, even with all the momentum early in the season. They still couldn't get it done, and getting them at 6 point dogs just seems a little too easy. So I mean, I'm still going to take Steelers +6, but I think the Ravens might finally get over that hump. I still like the Steelers to be able to move the ball well. They're coming off of a loss. They have a rough stretch, 3 games in 11 days. They're playing the second one. They got to look forward to that Christmas Day game against the Chiefs coming up. But they tend to play well versus the Ravens. I'm just going to bet on Mike Tomlin continuing to do that. He seems to have Harbaugh's numbers, so I got Steelers +6.
Okay, moving on to Lions at Bears. We will be in attendance for this game. The people that we're going with don't know what we're dressing up as, but I doubt they will be listening to this. So we will be in lion masks. If anybody sees us on the screen, please take a picture. We are expected to be on the television screen on Sunday.
I wish I had it with me. I should.
Right, yeah, put it on. But
I'll go get it
Lions
while you're talking.
Lions will have to overcome more injuries, and they will consider moving Branch to corner, I believe. I think that's a solid play with the Lions losing Carlton Davis for most of this, probably the rest of the season. You don't, and they lose Khalil Dorsey. You don't want to have to play Kindle Vildor a ton. Maybe you move a Meek outside. I don't love that, but I almost love it more than putting Vildor out there. And then, you have safeties, especially if Melifonwu can come back. When Brandon Joseph's been solid in his time this year, so maybe they have some safety depth if they want to move Branch up. Bears defense is not playing great right now. I think the Lions should be able to get their 30 points. I'm definitely worried about the Lions defense going forward here, of course, with all these injuries. Aleem McNeil, Carlton Davis, Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone. The list goes on and on and on. Marcus Davenport. But I think the Lions should be able to still get some pressure versus this horrible O-line. There it is. There's the mask. Have fun putting your headphones through that. But
I already did.
um, once again, two teams that are pretty good on third down and the red zone on both sides, minus the Bears' third down offense. Bears do a good job of holding onto the ball, though. The Lions need to find some takeaways in this game. Lions are looked at in a kind of a dark light right now with all the injuries, but I think Dan's going to have them ready to go. I think the Lions should win this game by a decent amount. I think they win by more than they won by in Detroit. I think they probably are in the range of 7 to 10 points to win this game. And with that being said, I will take them at -6.5.
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me well?
I mean, not great.
Okay. I'll tell you nothing.
It's a
Yeah,
great
this
mask though.
line. Yeah, good mask. This Lions team has had so many injuries that they've had to overcome, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Couple on offense now. Offensively, they should still be able to move the ball. They have the weapons. Amon Ra, obviously, Sam Laporta, Tim Patrick. Um, they're going against the Bears defense that has struggled, especially since the departure of Matt Eberflus. I like the Lions to move the ball very well. They are playing outdoors in cold weather, which they haven't had to deal with too much this season. Is this their last one? Is this their third one or just their second one?
They play
I
in
thought they
San Fran, if you want to call that cold weather.
okay. I'm pretty sure it was 3 outdoor games, so this would be the
Yeah,
last
it
cold
was
weather game.
Packers, Bears, Niners. Yeah.
Yeah. Their only guy on defense that the Bears have really have, like I said earlier, that's had a good season has been Jalen Johnson. You can kind of pick on the other guys with some of their weapons. I expect Ben Johnson to have another big day against a team that he might want to show that he's worth a lot of money to, especially in their city.
He's not going to the Bears. I really don't think he is. I
I
really
don't
don't
I
think
don't
he
think
is.
the Bears are gonna would be able to afford him anyways. I don't think they're a pretty cheap franchise, so
Yeah.
that's a that's a thing. But he wants to prove that he's worth that much money. We see Caleb Williams, who has struggled this season to say the least. Um, he doesn't have the offense right now. The offensive line is struggling. The Lions have so many injuries on the defensive side of the ball. I still think they'll be able to play well. Just force Caleb Williams into a couple mistakes. He hasn't thrown too many interceptions. They just haven't been able to move the ball well. I like the Lions to slow down the run in this game and just get the job done. What is the spread at?
6.5.
6.5. Yeah, I still like the Lions 6.5 to get the job done. So I'm also going to go Lions minus 6.5.
Hey, moving on here to Browns at Bengals. Bengals open at 7.5 point favorites at home in Cincinnati. DTJ is starting for Cleveland. He does have very little film, played some last year, a little bit this year, but not a ton of film on him. Since his defense has been so bad that I actually think we see a good Browns offensive game here. I think this is a game where you might have wanted Jameis to be in against Cincy, but obviously they're benching him since he is 1-5 at home this year, very similar to the Cowboys. They're all right on the road, but they're so bad at home. Cleveland's defense has been better recently. They have the seventh best pass defense in football in the last 3 games. Have been able to do a decent job as of late, stopping teams from passing on them. Any game where Cincinnati's not gonna be able to score 35 is a tough game for them. I don't know if they're gonna be able to get 35 in this game. Cleveland's O line is bad. But since it is the second least sacks per game team in football right now, I think they're being a little overvalued here. And even with DTR, I'm going to take the Browns plus 7.5.
Yeah, pretty big spread for a Bengals team that has been struggling immensely on defense so far this season. If Jameis Winston was in that quarterback, I would really like the Browns with this line. But DTR makes me a little bit less confident. He will help in the run game, getting Jerome Ford going. Obviously, Nick Chubb out for the season with that broken foot injury, which is just so terrible. Jerry Jeudy had been really emerging as a very good weapon for this Browns offense with Jameis Winston, but now with DTR in there, I don't see him being as big of a threat. I don't see this Browns game being much of a threat at all. Their defense is going to have to slow down the Bengals to keep them in this game. They haven't been as good as we've expected them to be, but they have been solid. They have the seventh best defensive grade in the NFL, according to PFF at 75.6, fourth best pass rush grade on PFF at 79.9. They've been solid in those aspects, and obviously they still have Myles Garrett, one of the best players in the NFL every single season, just all around. He has 11 sacks, 1.5 sacks behind the guy on the other side of the field, Trey Hendrickson, who's been basically the Bengals' only good spot on defense. Browns defense has been good against the run, the best run defense PFF in the NFL. Chase Brown might not be able to run as well as he has been, but he's also been a huge weapon in the pass game for Joe Burrow and the Bengals passing game. I think this Bengals offense has been just kind of too hard to contain. They have so many guys. They know that they have to score pretty much every time they get the ball. Otherwise, their defense might let them down. So I like to see them continue to do that. But 7.5 points is a very big spread. I think the Bengals find a way to win this game, but I think their defense will find a way to struggle, still give up some points. So I'm also going to go Browns plus 7.5.
Okay, moving on here to Eagles at Commanders. Eagles open up at 3.5 point favorites on the road in this game. Washington's offense has been very suspect recently, and they are playing against the hottest team defensively in football in the Eagles right now. Washington's pass defense has been really, really good. Of course, they have Lattimore now, who played his first game last week. So I expect Hurts to come back to earth in this game. I don't think we're going to see him like show up to the press conference and say, "Is this what y'all wanted again?" I don't think that's going to happen. I gave a take earlier on in the season that the Eagles were frauds and the Commanders are an actual good team. Kind of feel a bit of the opposite now. I'm getting fraud vibes from the Commanders. Just seems like they're not able to perform on a game-to-game basis. Both teams are good offensively in the red zone, but the Commanders are really bad down there defensively. Philly's pass rush has been pretty solid, and Daniels has been sacked a decent amount this year. I've been saying it for the past couple weeks, so it's pretty obvious, but I think the Eagles are going to win this game fairly easily, and I'm going to take them at minus 3.5.
Yeah, I agree. Last matchup we saw between these two, Saquon had a huge game, 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Even with them struggling in the pass game up until last week, and the Commanders may be able to take advantage there. I like the Eagles to still dominate on the ground. Their defense has been, like you said, on fire. They've held opponents to 20 or less in 9 of their last 10 games. They haven't lost a game since their bye week in week 5. Very, very good. 15.1 points per game in that stretch. They have the two big weapons outside. I like one of them to have a big day, whether it's A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, but I think it's going to be just a lot of Saquon and help him continue to get to that Eric Dickerson record. Jane Daniels has been solid again recently. They've been able to move the ball well. The Commanders, I think they're still a good team. I just don't think they have enough yet to really be a team that can be a threat in the playoffs. Cliff Kingsbury has started to have some late season success here now. Can he continue it is the biggest question, but I like the Eagles to win this game and kind of dominate. I'm going to go Eagles -3.5.
Okay, moving on here to Rams at Jets. Jets offense is getting a lot better, and they are playing a defense that they can definitely score against here. Jets defense, although their offense is getting better, their defense is subsequently getting worse as well, giving up the fourth most passing yards per game in the last 3 games. Jets' run defense has stayed solid though. Rams like to play through Kyron, so the Jets' main option needs to be stopping Kyron. And it sounds weird to force Stafford into throwing, but if they become one-dimensional, the Jets are going to have a better chance. Cold weather game for the Rams offense definitely plays a part, having to play in New York in late December. Rams' run defense isn't very good, but they have been winning recently, so it's been a lot better because teams have not been running all over them because they've been down by so much. Rams red zone defense has been good, so they should be able to stop the Jets down there. I really, really want to go Jets in this game. I think it's a decent matchup for them, but I can't do it anymore. I said a couple weeks ago I was done picking them, so I'm gonna go with the Rams -3.5.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. The Jets have been pretty bad against the spread. I think 5-9. Rams need to win this game to stay within striking distance of the Seahawks. Need to stay within one game going into that last game of the season. They're playing for their season basically still. They've shown in the last 2 weeks that they can win the game in completely different ways. Against the Bills, they put up a ton of points. Their defense struggled. Last week against the Niners, their defense dominated and their offense just put up field goals, and they were able to win both of those games. Uh, they've gotten the job done in those aspects. Matt Stafford is 4-13 versus Aaron Rodgers. A lot of those coming from when he was on some of those bad Lions teams, so that's really not too much to look into there, but has struggled against Rodgers. The offense for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers has looked better and better recently. They have been going against some bad defenses. The Jags is by no means a good passing defense, but Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson have both been having pretty solid games. The run game, though, for the Jets hasn't been there recently at all. Been very bad with Breece Hall and them. I agree that I think this could be just a good matchup for the Jets. I can see them being able to move the ball well like they have in recent weeks. And the Jets are a very good team at hurting their draft stock and draft pick and tanking. So, although I think the Rams probably still win this game, I'm gonna go against the Jets spread. But I'm going to go with the Jets +3.5. Although they have let me down a lot, and I wouldn't like to pick the Jets, but I think this is a good matchup for them. So I'm gonna go Jets +3.5.
Okay, moving on here to Cardinals at Panthers. The Cardinals are going on the road to Carolina, and they desperately need a win in this game. Cardinals defense has been okay recently, but not as good as they were before the bye. Before the bye, they looked like a force defensively. They were great in the run game, great in the pass game. They have not looked as good since they came out of that bye week. Carolina's pass defense has been great, but their run defense has been really, really bad recently and just on the season as a whole. Cardinals should be able to play through James Conner in this game. They should be able to run all over this Carolina front. Arizona's red zone defense is really great as well. They should be able to keep Bryce Young from scoring a lot. If they get down there, I expect Carolina to have to kick some field goals. I do not like this spread at all here. I'm gonna take Arizona -4.5, but I don't love this here, and I could definitely see Carolina covering.
Yeah, this is another closer one. Game doesn't matter too much for these teams. The Cardinals can still find them. They're still in the hunt, I should say. Two small quarterbacks. I think the combined height of the two QBs here is like 7'9". The Cardinals need to get James Conner going in this game. The Panthers' run defense is not very good at all. One of the worst in the NFL, giving up. They are the worst in yards per game, giving up 173 yards per game in the NFL. This could be a big game from James Conner and Kyler Murray, two guys who can run the ball very well. I think Kyler has a chance to have a big game here. He just needs to limit the turnovers, scramble and run the ball, and just keep getting the ball to James Conner. Marvin Harrison Jr. hasn't really been involved in this offense as much as we would have expected. It's been a lot of Trey McBride. Somehow Trey McBride still hasn't gotten a touchdown. Maybe we finally see that this week. That'd be cool to see, but I'd like to see Marvin Harrison Jr. get going. Bryce Young struggled last week. He gets a chance to get back on track here versus a Cardinals defense that's been up and down. I think he will be able to move the ball. They need Chuba Hubbard to have a solid game, though. When the Panthers are able to run the ball, that helps Bryce Young out a lot. and just takes a lot of pressure off of him. Their run defense for the Cardinals is middle of the pack, so they should be able to move it a little bit. But I like James Conner just have a big game running the football, and I like this Cardinals offense to move very well. The Panthers have a frisky defense, but like I said, if the Cardinals can just run the ball, I think that's going to be a deciding factor. So I'm going to go Cardinals minus 4.5.
Okay, moving on here to Titans at Colts. Colts are playing a very easy schedule now. Colts defense has been pretty good late in the year, but specifically in the past game, they've been really good defensively. Colts should be no, hold on, who is it? Yeah, it's going to be Rudolph, I believe, for the Titans. I don't think it's
Yes,
going to be Levis.
it's
So,
Rudolph. They benched
um,
Levis, which
oh,
is
they did announce it officially.
I saw Rappaport tweet about it yesterday and again today. So
Okay, so definitely Rudolph then. I think he's going to
dumb
struggle
decision.
against this defense. Not co He's going to have a full week of practice, but I think he does struggle against this defense. Titans defense is very good in the pass game, but JT should be able to have a good game on the ground. Probably a really low scoring game depending on turnovers. Obviously, this is always a tough one to pick for over under because it doesn't seem like these two teams are going to score a ton of points, but once you start forcing turnovers and giving short fields, anything could happen there. Titans' blind spot on defense is in the red zone. They're not great down there. I expect if Indy can get down there that they'll be able to score some points. Titans' O line isn't great either, and Colts' pass rush has been pretty solid for most of the year now, especially with Defoe back. I think the Colts are going to kind of fuck up their draft pick here. I'm going to take the Colts minus 3.5 to win this game.
The benching of Will Levis to me just makes absolutely zero sense. This has to mean that they don't think he's their QB of the future,
Yeah,
I
definitely
guess.
not.
So, I mean, they're not going to have a high enough draft pick to get one of the top two guys. Do they go Milrow or what I think the Titans do is bring in Sam Darnold, which is just kind of funny to him. I mean, it kind of just reminds me of a Ryan Tannehill situation, but with no Derrick Henry, that's a completely different situation for them there. It's been a disaster for the Titans this season. They're the worst team versus the spread in the NFL. Colts have been pretty solid versus the spread. The Titans should be able to run the ball with Tony Pollard in this game. If they can run the ball, that could open a lot up for Rudolph, but I don't like this Titans team's chances at all. Colts are coming off of an embarrassing loss last week where they had 5 turnovers. They need to take care of the ball. Anthony Richardson needs to have a solid game here in this one. The turnovers last week for Taylor, Pittman, and then Anthony Richardson all hurt them. They need to all have big games. Specifically, Jonathan Taylor needs to come back and have a dominant game after the dropping of the football 1 yard early. I think the Colts defense played their best game of the season last week versus the Broncos up until that fourth quarter where they fell apart, but I don't put too much of that on them. They should have still responded. But with the way the offense was playing, it kind of just killed everything the team had going for them. They stopped the run in that game and forced Bo Nix to pass. If they can do that again this week, they should be able to win the game, even with the offense struggling a little bit. And the Colts run the ball, keep it out of Anthony Richardson's hands. The Titans' pass defense has been solid. I think the Colts get it done and cover that 3.5 point spread. But benching Will Levis makes zero sense to me. So,
Yeah,
but
me
it's
neither.
Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly. We'll move on here to Giants at Falcons here. Falcons are not playing well, but they are 8.5 point favorites in this game. Like we said, Michael Penix Jr. is in for Atlanta. Giants are obviously struggling offensively, but this is a defense that they can get right against. Penix has to face a defense that is a little scrappy for his first game. Maybe having no film on him will help for Atlanta, but this is a tough defense to play in your first game. Giants' run defense is pretty good as well, so he's not really going to have a great run game to rely on unless Bijan can go crazy versus defense, which, I mean, maybe he does, but I don't know. I like the Giants' defense to still be scrappy against a rookie quarterback. Atlanta's offensive line isn't bad. Giants' pass rush is pretty solid, so it's gonna be interesting to see who wins that matchup. If the Giants' pass rush can win that matchup, I think Penix could be in trouble, but I'm probably a fool for this, but I just don't like Atlanta right now. I'm going to take the Giants plus 8.5 at home.
Yeah, I don't really like either of these teams right now at all. Well, like you said, Kirk Cousins benched for Michael Penix Jr. We had to see the final first round rookie drafted, except for JJ McCarthy, who was out for the season with an injury. See Michael Penix Jr. play. Very interesting move to do that this late in the season. If he manages to win 2, 3 games but doesn't look great, do you go out and start him for the playoffs?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, you're gonna have to because he got you there, but it's just a very interesting dilemma that the Falcons could see. Drew Lock getting the start for the Giants. Interesting QB matchup here. Giants really haven't had much motivation to play for anything in about the past month, 2 months. The run defense has been very bad, second worst in the NFL. I think we see a big Bijan Robinson day, Tyler Algier day, and I expect the Falcons to just run the ball all game, slowly involve Michael Penix, let him slowly come into the game and feel better throughout the game. I like the Falcons to win this game. 8.5 is a massive spread. I'm still going to take Falcons minus 8.5. I think they get the job done. They have to win to stay on pace with the Buccaneers, who also have a pretty easy schedule. They know they have to pretty much win out. I think they win this one and cover 8.5, although it's a big spread.
Okay, moving on here to Vikings at Seahawks. Vikings are going into Seattle, which is usually a pretty tough place to play, but not this year. Like we talked about in the last episode, they haven't been good at home. The home environment hasn't been as good. Vikings defense has been consistent, and their offense is getting back together right now. They they had a tough stretch in the middle of the season, but towards the past few weeks, they've really been able to kick back into gear. Vikings pass rush is, of course, amazing with Grenard and Turner, like you said in the recap, which is a bad sign for Seattle. Their offensive line is their biggest weakness on their team, and whenever they play a team with a nasty pass rush, it's really tough for them. Gino will most likely play in this game after getting hurt, and Sam Howell coming in the last game on Sunday Night Football. Seattle is great defensively, but they do give up rush yards sometimes, so look for Aaron Jones to possibly have a big game for Minnesota. I wish Seattle had a better O-line because outside of that, this would be a tough matchup for Minnesota going on the road against a good defensive team. But that pass rush for Minnesota against the Seahawks offensive line is just too much for me. So I am going to take the Vikings minus 3.5.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked to see the spread only at 3. I think that's a little close for how the Vikings have played recently. I think they're one of the better teams in the NFC, obviously. Seahawks struggled last week. Going into the game, I guess they were kind of on a heater. We saw Geno Smith get banged up in that last game and Sam Howell have to come in. Passing offense has been very good with Geno Smith in there, except for some of the turnovers. They need him to be ready to go. Defensively, the Seahawks have not been good versus the run. They struggled versus Josh Jacobs last week, especially early in that game. I see the Vikings going to the run immediately, getting the ball to Aaron Jones. We saw a lot of Cam Akers last week too. I think both of them have pretty solid games. NFC North outside of the division playing each other has been very, very good. First time, I think the last week's Lions loss to the Bills was the NFC North's first loss outside of each other since like week 7 or 8. So
Crazy.
I think the Vikings win this game. I think they cover 3 pretty easily. I'm going Vikings minus 3.
Hey, moving on here to Patriots at Bills. Bills open as 2 touchdown favorites at home in New England in this game. New England's defense isn't horrible, but they have been pretty bad against the run, so James Cook should be able to get it going for Buffalo. Drake May does not have the help to do good offensive work in this current state with this offense, but Buffalo's defense is not a great unit, so maybe he will be able to move the ball in this game. I could see the Pats putting up some points in this game. I don't mind the over here because I think Buffalo's going to go crazy on offense, and I see an opportunity for New England to have an okay game. New England's offensive red zone percentage is one of the worst, so I think they will struggle even if they do move the ball in this game. I think the Bills are just going to go on a tear though late in this season with their very, very easy schedule and basically and win out by convincing margins. So even at a big spread at minus 14, I'm still going to take Buffalo.
You talking nice about Buffalo? It's
They're playing the Patriots, bro.
I know. I'm just saying you don't see that too often.
Yeah, I mean it's a good matchup for them. I don't
It
know.
is. It's a very
And
good
they have
matchup for
all
them.
good matchups for the rest of the year.
They do.
Congratulations, Buffalo, winning the worst division in football.
Who knows? I mean, I guess yeah, it's probably one of the worst. Doesn't say the AFC South's pretty bad,
Yeah, they're
but
both bad. Yeah, that was the worst too, probably.
yeah, they're trying to stay in the hunt for that first overall seed with the Chiefs. They have to win out and hope the Chiefs lose some. Offensively, they're scoring 31.8 points per game. That's second in the NFL. 370 yards per game, seventh in the NFL. Uh, 0.220 EPA per play, which is first in the NFL. They're second in score differential at plus 135. This Bills offense has been very, very good. Turnover differential, they're plus 18. They only have 7 offensive turnovers. I think the Bills offense is just going to continue to dominate with Josh Allen. I think he's going to continue to look like that MVP candidate. The defense has struggled in the last 2 weeks against the Lions and Rams, but at home, the defense tends to play better. They're home in this game, going against the division rival that they see a lot. This offense for the Patriots is nothing like the Rams or the Lions, where they have Rams have so many weapons on the outside. Lions have so many weapons, just a fantastic offensive line. This Patriots offense has none of that really. They don't really have any weapons to worry about except for the quarterback Drake May, and the offensive line isn't great either. I think the Bills have a big day and win pretty big against a limited Patriots offense. I'm going Bills minus 14 as well.
Okay, moving on here to 49ers at Dolphins. This might have looked like it was going to be a great matchup late in the year if you looked at the schedule early on, but now it's two teams that needed to win out, lost last week, and are not looking great right now. Dolphins open up as 1 point favorites in this game. 49ers offense is up and down. I expect Miami's defense to give them trouble, though. They're number 8 in the pass, number 8 in the rush defensively. They've been great all year long. This should be an all-around tough game for San Francisco. Long travel to play a tough home team in Miami, too, for San Francisco. Niners defense is susceptible to the run. Miami hasn't been able to find any run offense at all, so I don't know if that's really going to hurt the Niners in this game as it has in other games. I don't mind the under in here. I think we're going to see two pretty low scoring teams in this game. San Francisco's red zone defense is really bad though, so Miami should be able to have some success down there against San Francisco. Miami is basically dead, but I do agree with the books here. I think they should be favorites in here. I think they're a slightly better team, and I'm going to take Miami to win by a point or more.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, ooh, two teams that have been very, very disappointing seasons. Dolphins for different reasons, mainly injuries. 49ers injuries as well, but Dolphins losing their quarterback for a long time really hurt them. They are 5-12 against the spread in their last 17 games. Niners in their last 7 road games are 1-6 against the spread. Something is going to have to give. Niners do have a very far traveling for this game. Obviously, having to go from San Francisco to Miami. Both teams pretty much out of the playoffs. Niners need to just continue. Brock Purdy needs to continue to play well. He's looking for a contract here soon. He needs to keep playing well for a payday. This Niners team just really has suffered from the Super Bowl runner-up slump this season. They just need to finish strong, get some guys healthy for next season, and kind of run it back and hope that you can stay healthy next year. Where I feel like this Dolphins offense, they've been playing better up until last week, where they played a defense that I think is very, very good. HN has been mainly their only consistent factor. Specifically in the passing game, he's been pretty big for him. Has had some bad rushing games. They need to get Tyreek Hill going and have him continue to play consistently well. Haven't really seen that this season. Dolphins are more, I think they're more likely than the 49ers to have a chance at the playoffs. They're both pretty much out of it, need an insane amount of help to get in, but at home, I'm also going to take the Dolphins -1. I think they win this game, and with the 1 point spread, that's pretty much what you're betting on.
Okay, moving on here to Jaguars at Raiders. This game sucks. It's only important for draft pick, but I could see the Raiders fucking themselves over here. Raiders defense is solid on both ends. I think they're going to be able to hold Mac Jones in this offense for the Jaguars down. I know Mac did look good last week, but I think the Raiders are able to find success here defensively. Raiders offense has struggled, but the Jags give up a ton of passing yards. Their secondary is not to be trusted. Ritter should be a lot better here in his second game. He also gets to play at home, which we know he loves playing at home. Raiders run game has been bad as we know, and I expect that to continue this game, especially with no Sincere McCormick, who was the only guy who was able to find success for them. I don't think without him that they're going to be able to have any success on the ground. Raiders red zone offense is really bad, but Jacksonville is not great down there defensively either, so maybe they will be able to right some wrongs there. This game is a tough one to preview. It's just very uneventful. Two bad teams here, but I lean the Raiders. I think the Raiders are a slightly better team, and they're at home here.
I agree. I think they're the slightly better team. AOC should be back for this game. I think
Oh, really? I thought it was Ritter.
I think AOC is supposed to be back for this
Oh,
game.
really? I thought it was Ritter. Wow. I mean, that doesn't change my pick, but still.
Yeah. He had a bone bruise. They did have an injury update. He almost could have went last week, so that's part of my reasoning for him
Wow,
being
so
able
I
to
guess
go
he will
this
be back.
week.
Poor Ritter.
Yeah. No matter what, I'm gonna assume that he's going to be back for this game. I said it in the recap. They lost Sincere McCormick and Max Crosby for the season. Kind of some big losses there. Obviously, Max Crosby and McCormick had really helped their run game. I think the Raiders are gonna win this game and really hurt their odds of getting one of the top two quarterbacks with how close everybody is. This is a battle of two teams that are tanking for a better draft pick. I just think AOC. I think AOC is just a better quarterback than Mac Jones in this game. 1 point spread again. That's pretty much what you're betting on. Who's going to win? This game is in Vegas. The Jags secondary has been pretty bad all around this season. I think we could have another big Brock Bowers game, maybe a big Jacoby Myers game. I'm going to take the Raiders to win this one at -1.
Okay, moving on here to Sunday Night Football. Bucks at Cowboys. Bucks open as 4-point favorites in this game in Dallas. Dallas has been horrible at home, but they've been really good on the road, as we talked about, similar to Cincinnati. Dallas's defense has been better, but versus the run, they're just as bad. Or sorry, but versus the pass, they're just as bad as they've been all year. They've been a little bit better versus the run as of late. Tampa's offense should have a field day here, I think, against the secondary. I mean, they torched one of the best defenses in the league in LA last week. I think they have a similar performance here against the Cowboys. Tampa's O-line is not perfect. Cowboys are going to need to get Micah Parsons on their D-line home at Baker Mayfield to win this game. Cooper Rush should have a good day versus the secondary, though. I know the secondary overperformed last week against Herbert, but Cooper Rush has been solid. I think he'll have a decent amount of passing yards in this game. We cannot expect the recent rush success for the Cowboys to continue. They've had a couple good games with Dowdle recently, but against this defensive front of the Bucks, I don't think they're going to be able to. Bucks, they're on a tear right now. I think it continues here. I think they cover the 4.
Yeah, Bucks are on a tear last week going against that Chargers defense that has been one of the better defenses, especially in terms of points per game. They went out and dominated. I think they're going to continue that. This Cowboys defense has been better recently in the season. Struggled a little bit against the Bengals, but overall they've been a solid unit ever since getting Micah Parsons back. I think Baker's going to stay hot. Mike Evans has been huge for this team recently. It's going to be very interesting to see him match up against this Cowboys secondary and some of their top guys. Offensively for the Cowboys, Cooper Rush has been solid. Rico Dowdle has been the best running back for this Cowboys team and had his best game of the season last week. I think they will be able to move the ball on this Buccaneers secondary. They give up the third most passing yards per game, 247. But I just like Baker Mayfield and this Bucs team. They know that they have to continue winning. Both them and the Falcons have easy schedules with the remainder of the season. I'm going with the Buccaneers -4 as well. I trust Baker to keep riding the wave.
Hey, final game here, Monday Night Football, Saints at Packers. New Orleans offense has not been good. Packers defense is playing super well right now. Nola gives up a ton of rushing yards, so Jacob should be able to have a great day in this game. He's had a great season. He's consistent. Been a big part of why this Packers offense has had success. I think he is in this game as well. I think we see the Packers offense have a great game if they could hold on to the ball. Like you said during Toyotathon, Love doesn't throw many picks. He did throw a lot of picks before, so I'm not going to trust that he's exempt of that. He maybe can still turn the ball over, but if New Orleans can't force turnovers, they're going to be in a bad spot. They're pretty middle of the pack as far as forcing those turnovers, so they're going to have to force some. This feels like maybe too big of a spread against the Saints, but maybe it's a trap here. Nola's red defense is great. Packers need to find a way to convert when they get down there, but I'm gonna take the fact that I think it's a trap, and I'm gonna take the Packers -2 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah, just don't really see a team with you don't see many 14-point spreads, and it kind of shocks me that the Packers get one here at -14. Their offense has been good lately. They've been running the ball well with Josh Jacobs. The Saints is a run defense that struggles, sixth worst in yards per game at 134.4. I think the Packers are going to move the ball well. I think they're going to run the ball, open up some of that passing game for um, Jordan Love to get the ball to his guys. Jaden Reed has been quiet recently. Maybe he finally steps up. Christian Watson, though, has been good. They have a lot of guys. Romeo Dobbs. I think their defense just needs to stay locked in on Alvin Kamara, who can get hot at this time of the year, but the Saints offense doesn't have too many weapons outside of him. Spencer Rattler at quarterback moved the ball well when he came in last week, but he did come in mid-game. Weren't really planning on him coming in. You were planning for Jake Haener. I think the Packers win this game, and it's a game in December at Lambeau. Saints don't play there too often. I'm going to go Packers -14.
Okay, we'll move on to our best bets then, and it is an even number week at week 16 here, so you will start us off with your first pick.
I get the first pick. I went 3-0 last week, which was very nice. Hopefully, I can recreate that magic and do it again this week. I think I'm going to start. This always messes me up whenever I pick these big spreads on here, but I just like the Bills -14 to get it done. I think they're going to dominate that Patriots game, so I'll go Bills -14 in my first one.
I'm going to stay in the AFC as well. I'm going to take the Chiefs -3 on Saturday. I think it's a great matchup for them against Houston. I think their defense is going to be able to completely stymie everything that Houston has going for them offensively. I don't know if the Chiefs are going to be able to score a ton of points on this Houston team, but I think they score enough to win by 3, and I think they start a little streak of covering here. So I'll take the Chiefs.
Yeah. Second one now. There's not too many that I really love this
Me
week.
neither.
There's one that I could take, but I have a feeling you might take it coming up, so I'm not gonna do that. I'll go Dolphins -1. I think they win that game. Actually, no, I'm gonna go Vikings -3. Uh, I like the Vikings in this game against the Seahawks. I think they're gonna run the ball very well in Seattle. This is one that I had started and I just completely forgot about it, so I'm gonna go Vikings -3.
All right. My next one here, I'm going to go with the Lions minus six and a
Yeah,
half.
that's the one I was
We're
thinking
going to
of.
the game. I obviously have to bet on my boys. I think they're gonna come out. Dan Campbell's gonna have these boys ready to go, and I think they're gonna shut up a lot of people who are talking shit about them right now. I worry about the Lions against phenomenal offensive teams with their current defense, but they're not playing against a phenomenal offensive team here in the Bears. So I'm gonna take them minus 6.5.
Okay, and for my last best bet, I'm gonna go with an under, which I can't explain why, but I have been fantastic at picking unders so far this season. I don't know if I've really lost too many of them. And I think I'm going to go with the Dolphins Niners under 44 and a half. I think that's two solid defenses where the offenses have been struggling to put up points at times this season. I'm going to bet on those defenses, so I'm going to go under 44 and a half in that game.
Okay, I'm also going to take an under in the game I already picked. I'm going to take the Houston KC under 41.5. Like I said, I think both offenses are going to struggle. Both defenses are the heart and soul of their team in this game. Primetime game on Saturday, cold weather. I'm going to take the under 41.5. And that will about do it for this episode of the Engage 8 podcast. We will be back on Monday to recap all of these games, excluding the Packers and Saints on Monday Night Football. We will also, on Wednesday's episode, a week from today, we will be able to talk about the 4 college football playoff games that have already happened. So we'll recap that. We'll talk about that Monday Night Football game, and then we will get you ready for the next week of the NFL season. But if you made it this far, don't forget to hit like and subscribe on this video. Hit the links in our description for Spotify, TikTok, Twitter, and all that good stuff. And we will see everybody in the next one. Go Lions.